I remember he said to someone one day, he says, I want my mother's food to be on everybody's table in this country. That was a pledge that he made 30 years ago. My grandma, Fodi, came from Italy. Actually, it's Milazzo, Sicily. And she migrated here through Ellis Island when she was 13 years old. When I was about 8 years old, I remember, cooking with her. But she used to make everything from scratch. As young as I was so interested. I would just drag my chair and climb up and watch her. She taught me how to cook so many things.
Growing up with Mom, even though Mom was working morning, noon, and night, actually, to raise 5 boys, and she would always put that Sunday where she would make everything and put it in the freezer for us, and we knew at least we were going to come home and still have our nice cooked meal.
What I would do is I would buy all the ingredients, and then I would prepare all the meals for the week. And in order for them to stay fresh, I used to put them in freezer. So I was very skinny because I never got to eat. They always brought so many kids home. We had this little pizzeria, and that's when he started getting the idea of freezing the food that we were serving in the pizzeria.
Well, when they were picking up their pizza, they would see all of these different meals, and they would say eggplant parmesan, stuffed shells, and actually they would buy a couple of those along with their pizza. So it turned out to be pretty good business. We do everything that you do. If you could do it, you had the time to do it yourself.
True, true. I didn't have formulas or anything. He says, okay, we're gonna buy a scale and you start cooking. And when I started cooking, he says, okay, before you put the ingredients in the pot, he says, put it on the scale. And that's how we started putting formulas together.
You don't know how hard this could be. When you take an Italian mom that's used to taking a pinch of this and a pinch of that and smell it and saying, I need a little more or a little less, and she's doctoring up and playing with this the whole way through, and you're having to catch her hand before it ever gets to the pot. It took about 20 times before you actually got something even close that you could have. It was a recipe. You start out with a pot, like you did at home.
Right.
Now, we have big pots, but still, we use these small batches to create the beginning of the flavor and develop that. And then as it grows up.
The taste and the texture. I always say it's the taste and the texture that you have to have control.
But it's no different than we're doing here at home.
Everything has to be made the same way it was made from the beginning.
Anybody that ever walks by a pot that has garlic and onions sauteing in it and gets that smell, you just go, oh, wow. Well, you can't do that any other way. You can't take the garlic and throw it in here and the onion and throw it in there and put it in the sauce and then some time later, when you're cooking it in a microwave, get that to develop. It's just not going to happen. Michelangelo's is always about, first we start, and then what it was done in Mom's kitchen, growing up and having that aroma that you grew up on, and then adding some spices to it, you can't beat it. This is a wheel of Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese. And we have a couple of friends over there that we actually have gotten to know over the years that we buy from. Well, when we take it this way and we grate it and within minutes put it in the dish, we're protecting the flavor. Because if you ever have Parmesan cheese, that if you go to a pizza place or Italian place and they put the little shaker on the counter and it sits there for weeks, it kind of gets dry. And when it gets dry, it loses flavor.
So in order to, again, control and make sure that everything is fresh and authentic, we started importing it ourselves.
We've always had one very simple rule. The way Mom does it at home is the way we do it in our big kitchens at the office. When you take this home and you put it on your table and you're feeding your kids, you can be proud of, there's no preservatives, there's no additives. It's real, true cooking. It's real food.
We don't have to add any kind of stabilizers to our sauces, which a lot of companies do, because of the pectin. There's pectin that is natural. I call it a natural stabilizer, but it's pectin that is underneath the skin.
when you start with good ingredients in the first place, like a tomato has a sweetness to it, you don't need to add sugar.
You don't have to boost it up with the salt to enhance the flavor. The flavor's there right in the actual raw ingredients.
I don't have to add all those other things that they add every step of the way and fill up the side of the box with ingredients that nobody understands.
No sub-listings, they call it.
No sub-listings, no other listings. A tomato's a tomato. It's pretty simple.
Right. It's just going to be the actual ingredients. You're not going to see a bunch of flavorings or additives or stabilizers of any kind.
You should be able to read every word and understand it.
And that is also true, and it's always what you wanted me to do because that was the original way. That was the authentic way we did it. I think that's why we're successful. Because again, Michael's stubbornness and tenaciousness.
Mom's great cooking, which is nice to have around. And it's nice to have us as partners and being together all the time. We have a great family relationship and, you know, with Anthony and the whole family there.
Thank God. Because people always say, how do you family stay together? And I don't know. To me, it's a plus. I get to see my kids every day.